10 people who cheated death. But before we go on, make sure to smash that thumbs up, subscribe to Mind Expand Facts, and join our notification team. Roy Sullivan. Roy Sullivan was a Virginia forest ranger who had an incredible attraction to lightning, or rather lightning had an attraction to him. Over his 36-year career as a ranger, Sullivan was struck by lightning 7 times and survived each jolt, but not unharmed. His 7th strike put him in the Guinness Book of World Records. The first lightning strike shot through Sullivan's leg and knocked his big toenail off. The 2nd strike burned off his eyebrows and knocked him unconscious. Another strike left his shoulder seared. Then his hair was set on fire, and Roy had to dump a bucket of water over his head to cool off. Another bolt ripped through his hat and hit him on the head. The 6th strike left him with an injured ankle. And the last lightning bolt to hit Roy Sullivan sent him to the hospital with chest and stomach burns in 1977. On September 28, 1983, Roy Sullivan died at age 71. Reportedly of a self-inflicted gunshot wound over troubles unrelated to lightning. Frane Selak. Luck has always been on his side for Croatian music teacher Frane Selak, who is well known around the world for as many fatal accidents as spectacular escapes. The first of his numerous near-death experiences began on a cold January day. When Selak was on a train, it suddenly derailed into an icy river, killing 17 passengers. He managed to escape with a broken arm. A year later, Selak was flying from Zagreb to Rijeka when a door abruptly blew away from the cockpit of the plane. As he was blown off the plane, the accident killed 19 people. However, Selak was lucky enough to land on a haystack and woke up some days later in hospital with minor injuries. He met with a third misadventure while traveling on a bus that crashed and plunged into a river. 4 years later, Selak was driving along when, all of a sudden, his car caught fire. Then 3 years later, another of Selak's car caught fire, blowing flames through the air vents. To a greater dismay, Selak lost most of his hair. Selak was also hit by a bus. The following year, while driving through a mountain road, Selak drove off a guardrail to escape an oncoming truck and landed on a tree to watch his car explode 300 feet below. In a surprising turn of events in 2003, Selak won the $1 million Croatian lottery, turning the man into either the world's unluckiest man or the world's luckiest one. Truman Duncan. Railroad switchman Truman Duncan had one of the worst injuries you could imagine. He fell off the front of a moving train car. He was swept underneath and cut in two. Despite losing both legs and a kidney, Duncan called the paramedics on his cell phone, survived a 45-minute wait, and then persevered through 23 surgeries. Robert Evans. 46-year-old homeless man Robert Evans had a hit-and-run car accident, and while walking back from the hospital to his camp, he was knocked off a narrow railroad bridge into a creek by a train, surviving the second accident in only 7 hours. Anatoly Bugorsky. As a researcher at the Institute for Higher Energy Physics in Protvino, Bugorsky used to work with the largest Soviet particle accelerator. One day, Bugorsky was checking a malfunctioning piece of equipment when an accident occurred due to failed safety mechanism. Bugorsky was leaning over the piece of equipment when he stuck his head in the part through which the proton beam was running. Reportedly, he saw a flash brighter than 1,000 suns, but did not feel any pain. The beam measured about 200,000 rads when it entered Bugorsky's skull, and about 300,000 rads when it exited. But only 500 to 600 rads are enough to kill a person. However, Bugorsky survived and even completed his PhD. He lost hearing in his left ear, and the left half of his face was completely frozen. Aron Ralston. While Aron Ralston was on a canyoneering trip in Blue John Canyon, a boulder fell and pinned his right forearm, crushing it. After trying for 5 days to lift and break the boulder, he realized there was no use. Finally, a dehydrated and delirious Ralston decided to break his arm against a chalkstone. Using the dull blade on his multi-use tool, he cut the soft tissue around the break. He then used the tool's pliers to tear at the tougher tendons. After Ralston was rescued, his arm was retrieved by park authorities and removed from under the boulder. It was cremated and given to Ralston. He returned to the boulder and left the ashes there. Vesna Vulović. On January 26, 1972, a Yugoslav Airlines airplane departed from Copenhagen to Belgrade with 28 passengers and crew. At an altitude of 33,000 feet, a bomb in the cargo section, planted by the Ustaše Croatian separatist group, exploded. The plane disintegrated and crashed in the mountains. In what must be one of the greatest survival stories of all time, stewardess Vesna Vulović survived the 33,000-foot descent, sitting on the tail of the plane. She ended up with a fractured skull, 2 broken legs, and 3 broken vertebrae, one of which was crushed and left her paralyzed from the waist down. Vulović spent several months in and out of hospitals. Operations allowed her to walk again. She even entered Guinness World Records book for surviving the longest fall without a parachute. Isidro Mejia. For a 39-year-old construction worker, Isidro Mejia getting nailed took on a brand new meaning one fateful day in 2004. Mejia was fixing a roof when he suddenly fell from a ladder onto his coworker who was using a high-powered nail gun. And yes, you guessed it, the nail gun went off. In a matter of seconds, 6 nails were driven deep into Mejia's skull. He was rushed to the hospital straight away and underwent intensive surgery across 5 days to remove the nails, 4 from his brain, 1 from his spine, and 1 from his face. He survived because the nails barely missed his brainstem and spinal cord. Harrison Okene. In 2013, Nigerian sailor Harrison Okene survived for almost 3 days underwater by crouching in an air bubble after his tugboat capsized whilst he was on the toilet. The 29-year-old was the sole survivor of the Jaskin 4, which overturned after being battered by heavy swells. Harrison was underwater for almost 60 hours when he heard a hammering on the deck. A team of divers scouring the waters on a body recovery operation was shocked to hear faint knocking in reply. Spooked to find Harrison in his underwater air pocket, the divers rescued him from the depths of the sea. Carlos Rodriguez. You've read the title of the video. You saw the thumbnail. So let's just get this out of the way. No, it's not a Photoshop. His name is Carlos Rodriguez, but for some strange reason, his friends and acquaintances call him Haffy. Haffy blames his unique appearance on a car accident caused by drinking and drugs, in which he hit a pole, was ejected through his windshield, and you can probably guess the rest. It's obvious that the other half of Haffy's head ended up all over the road. What's not so obvious is how he is still here to tell us about it. Carlos says he had the accident at 14, but he and his unusual head only recently went viral. His mugshot was distributed online after an arrest for soliciting prostitution. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more great content and check out our other videos.